evening. This is Wednesday, May 15th. It's 6:03 p.m. to be specific. It's the Easttown Board of Education Business and Planning Subcommittee. And tonight's agenda, we are going to start out with facilities and our maintenance report coming from Don.
Good evening. So this month, I mean, it looks a little short, but there's a lot going on. The elementary school, the guys have started all the lawn maintenance. We're gonna be doing the planting beds and stuff. That'll be starting pretty soon. The 2 sewer pumps have been replaced and they're working correctly. And all the freezer and cooler sensors have been installed and they are working correctly also. Just a quick note on that, we actually found a door that was left open over the weekend. It popped up on Monday and it showed it was open just a little bit, let warm in, so they've already kind of paid for themselves already. Not totally, but they sort of saved some food, so. Well, they did work. Middle school, the lawn maintenance is also, again, we're gonna be starting on the front for the bark mulch for the graduation. Freezer and cooler sensors have been installed, and we had a leaking water line and 2 valves that were replaced in the ceilings for the cold water line. The high school, the ADA seating is, we're missing one thing, we're missing the wire for the guardrail. It should be hopefully done first part of next week, they never shipped it. Freezer and cooler sensors were also installed there. The LED light conversion has been approved, along with the stage lighting.
Oh,
So that should be starting this summer. The lawn maintenance has also started too. There. And for all the buildings over the summer projects, air balancing and duct cleaning, we started July 1st at the high school. We're starting at the high school now. Prices came back a little bit more than what we were planning on. So the state is allowing the schools to be done over a certain amount of time. So we could do the middle school next year and then tackle the elementary school after. It will be pretty much for the whole month of July, so we've relocated staff and we've relocated some summer school projects and some park and rec locations we've relocated to the middle school. Middle school basketball court is scheduled for sanding and repainting the week of June 24th. That's for 2 weeks. That was cupping, so it's time to get it sanded down. Drills, fire and security drills are up to date. The lawn maintenance and fertilizer contracts, we can so the company that we were using went out of business. So we are handling the lawn maintenance now. The fertilizer we have not even touched yet. We may have to worry about that for next year, but we are doing the mowing at all 3 schools and trimming in-house until, at least for this summer, until we can readdress for bidding next year. The tech ed building is getting, at the high school, is gonna be starting hopefully as soon as school gets out at the end of June. The high school basketball court is getting resealing the same time that the middle school is getting sanded and repainted. We met the other day with a new security vendor for lockdowns and cameras to walk through the buildings and give a presentation on possible improvements. We're working on the elementary school carpet replacement for this summer, getting the price back on that. That's been severely damaged from leaking water from the heating units when they sprung a leak, when the valve sprung a leak inside. So they're getting a musty smell, they're getting a bad smell, and just from being torn and being in there for probably 10 years plus. The HVAC, I think we'll touch base about that, I guess, a little bit later. The elementary school courtyard sidewalks, we've been in touch with the vendor on that too, to do the insides, hopefully with the original bid that we got over last summer. And we're going out to bid this week, probably next week for the middle school and high school hot water tanks, the replacement of those. And just happened today is that we were able to go forward with the stage curtain at the high school. So they're coming down next week to measure it and make the final place the order.
Really?
And it came in a ton cheaper than what we were estimating.
Oh, beautiful.
What, do you know what it came in at?
Just
Wow.
We changed a different company, and it came in at 19.5. That was a month ago, but now he's updating some guest routes.
And they're gonna do all the different levels,
They're
or
doing
just
it.
that big front one?
Nope, he's doing 100%.
Wow.
And we've used them before, right, Don? We've used them before.
Yes, he did the elementary school.
Okay, great.
Wow.
Does that include the tracks, or you're not doing the tracks?
And so we're gonna address that this week too. He's gonna come down and we're gonna walk through that. The main track is fine. He looked at that, the main track is fine. There may be some of the ones in the back that we may have to replace, but it's far under.
That is just,
what we
That's
had
awesome.
it was
budgeted, so-
100 before, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
we're huge.
Awesome.
It was just one company difference, so the other one was just price gouging, obviously. so.
Right. Wow. That's great.
First question, because I think it was further down our agenda, so are we lost any money with that Diamond Landscaping or anything?
No, actually, we're doing better financially. Well, they ended their contract. They have to reimburse us a little bit of money because of the timing of when they went into bankruptcy. So we're hoping we get that money. They seem pretty positive they were gonna send it to us, so we're gonna go with it. We were able to save enough money between the ending of this contract and the end of the school year to be able to purchase the lawnmowers so that we can do and pay for a seasonal guy to do it for less money than what we were to finish out the contract, so.
So our facilities guys are doing all the mowing for like,
Don hired a part-time facilities person to assist with just that one, and the whole thing between the purchase of the lawnmower and the hiring of a part-time facilities ended up cheaper than if we had maintained and kept with Diamond. The only thing with that is, of course, we don't have the fertilizer portion of it.
And honestly, I don't know how it's gonna work out. So we're doing all 3 schools now, this is the first time, so I don't know what's gonna happen until the end of the summer. It's working right now, but, so we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
If we can keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave Smith, from Public Transfer Station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he starts tomorrow, works Tuesdays and Thursdays.
okay.
Ricky Shay's, he's still doing it or no?
Just for time, no. We didn't have time to go back out to bid after we found out that they went bankrupt.
It's too late in the season to find out.
Yeah.
Will you consider going out? You're gonna wait until the end of the summer to decide, and then you'll go out next January or so?
We're gonna see what happens. My gut tells me we may still have to at least put out the high school, because it is a lot of mowing between the 3 buildings. That's the way it was before. Just the bids came back so low last time, well, maybe we're learning something now, is we could do the elementary school and the high school, so.
Taya, do you have any questions?
So doing the duct cleaning, is that standard to do it every 3 years, it sounds like?
No, so the state came out with a requirement every 5 years they had to be done.
Okay,
But there's so many statewide that need to be done, and it's costing so much money, is that now they've changed to where we can do them one a year or a certain percentage a year. We fall in one a year. So we can do the high school this year, middle school next year. And the elementary school doesn't really have a lot, so we can probably lump the 2 of them in next year together. But we can always be on a rotation instead of doing them all at once.
okay, so really 5 years is the recommendation, but we're doing it in less than that.
Mandate.
Yeah, mandate.
Mandated, you have to do it, okay, gotcha, so
Yeah.
we're well within. Okay,
And the high school is the oldest and the longest, so we're just starting with there first.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I like that we're doing the lawn maintenance in-house right now, because I think it will give us a good idea of what it takes, and what's necessary, so that once we back out to bid, we really know what we're looking for.
They're doing good, it's a little struggle, but they're getting the handle on it. First couple weeks was a little
Adjustment.
ugly, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
we got a hold of it, so.
Okay, all right, sounds good, thank you.
They're also working on the weekend to make it happen. Just keep in mind, yeah, it's,
Okay.
Saturdays become a day for them.
Is that overtime?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's important to know.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain, so the grass is
Right,
it's growing everywhere.
yes, that's true.
So, well, just a funny, and I didn't know this until today. PJ, we back the middle school, and there's 3,200 feet of guardrail that need to be done, and fencing. So that's how much is there at the middle school. Just a fun fact.
Fun. That sounds fun. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Nope, I'm all set, thanks.
Laurel?
Yes, I do have questions. So on the elementary school with the cooler that had been left over the weekend open, did we lose anything?
We didn't because it wasn't open enough, but the sensors detected
And
that
then they
it was open.
regulated
Yes.
themselves, okay.
Yep.
And then, happy to hear that the lawn maintenance situation contract afforded us the ability to buy the lawn mowing machine as well as hiring this part-time facilities person.
Mhm.
But the statement that you're making about the keeping up and requiring Saturdays, how far is that pushing us over the edge?
In hopes
In
with him,
OT, in
so-
money,
he's starting tomorrow for the first time.
right?
So this.
He
with
should
hopes-
alleviate the
correct.
Saturdays.
That's what we're hoping for,
Okay,
yes.
that's good news, all right. The new security vendors, meeting for the lockdowns and the cameras, I don't think I had a question on it, it made me trigger that we were having that kind of a conversation, so that's good. I think that was it for me, thank you.
Sean?
I was just curious on like the basketball court sanding and painting. How often is that done?
And so we try to seal, we alternate a couple schools every year, just go clean them and seal them. So what happened at the middle school is it started to cup. Only one at the far end of the far hoop, it started to cup underneath in the paint. So that creates a problem during game time.
Yep.
So it may not get sanded again for another 5 to 8
Oh, really?
years. It may, if it stays good, we just have to clean it and seal it.
Okay, so resealing, that's like with the high school. We
Yep.
do that, so we do that just standard every year.
The elementary school we push off because it doesn't really get.
Get as
It
much.
just gets, it gets gym class, it doesn't get
Right.
use after that.
Yep.
So it goes a little bit longer.
Okay. No, my other questions were answered already. That's it. Great news on the curtain.
I do have one question. Did you have luck getting rid of the dishwashers? Or not yet?
Not yet. Not yet, but we're still working on that.
Tell us about the elementary school islands here.
Yes.
So, I'm sure you've all been there in the islands, they're kind of ugly. They're very difficult to keep grass in for 2 reasons. I wasn't here when it happened, but 90% of parking lots that they put all the gravel down first, they lay it out, they roll it, and then they build the curb, and then they fill the topsoil. So it's hard to get grass to grow when the gravel's underneath them. There's no other place for roots to go, for water to go, and have that happen. The other problem is that's where snow gets piled and all the salt kills the grass. So in a perfect scenario, I would like to take some of these and start digging some of the topsoil out. Either fill them with wood chips, bark mulch, stone, whatever. We could put flowers in there or whatever, plants in there.
They're elementary kids. I think stone is the wrong answer.
I'm throwing any option out there, so I don't.
Patty says stone. I say mulch. But anyways, go ahead.
Grass, I think we could redo it, but I think we're gonna have the same problem in a couple of years. I think wood chips, bark mulch, or stone would be the best
What
option to
happens
go.
if you would put the stone down and you put that epoxy on it? Do you know what I mean? Or just make them all concrete? Just fill them in.
That's all, yeah. It's a lot of concrete.
It is, but I'm
The
just
trees
saying.
won't survive, so those would come out if you concrete them.
Just leave well for the.
How are the trees surviving and grass is not?
So they're not really.
Okay,
So we haven't been cleaning them up because they've been dying
okay.
inside and higher up. So we've actually removed, I think, 4 so far that have died.
Pull
And-
the other ones.
And if you dig them out to refill them, can't you dig them out to remove the stone, gravel, and put in better quality topsoil? Or is it more work than it's worth?
I think it's more than it's worth because we're still gonna have the salt that kills it from the plowing.
Right.
I
Okay.
think if we were able to dig them out, we can throw bark mulch in there every 2-3 years. And Just, once the first initial hit's done, it'll be the most expensive. And then after that, it'll just be cleaning it up.
Are you gonna clean up the curbs too, or no? That's not what we're talking
I
about.
wasn't planning on it. No.
We don't. Okay,
So I mean, I don't,
because you don't know, you weren't here, you're saying, so you don't know what's underneath them.
so the projects I've been on, I mean, the contractors, they lay the gravel out, they roll it, they don't leave sections out, and then they pour the curbing, which makes sense because it's harder. They pour the curb and then they fill it with topsoil. So, so I mean, we could do one and see what it looks like, but I think that's the easiest way to go because they look, they are pretty ugly.
Do they drain okay so that the mulch won't float up and over when it becomes a pond?
Yeah, I would say so.
That's my concern with it, that mulch is gonna be everywhere. And kids throwing stone definitely too. It is a parking lot, so their parents should be kind of watching them, but at the same time, with both of those options, I just worry that mulch is gonna get messy with heavy rain, it's gonna be in the parking lot. I like the idea of stone most, just because it's heavier. But, I mean, I don't know.
In a epoxy, so you can't get them out, or just concrete them. Do a stamp concrete. You're done with it once.
I don't know, that seems ugly.
Does the stamp have the designs? The stamp
Have our
concrete,
teacher
yeah, it
go out
looks
and
almost
make
like
the mosaics.
brick patterns. You can get
Kids
a
can
nice
all put
pattern.
pieces of,
We can do something
like clay
nice.
and
Could.
concrete.
Can we preserve the trees in any way, though? with
So I
that?
think we can.
You could do
with
mulch around the trees.
Just around, yeah.
Oh, that's, yeah, I wonder what the cost is versus,
With the concrete?
yeah, doing,
I don't think it'd be cheap. I think it'd be,
but
I
the
don't know.
longevity of it, and you don't have to keep redoing it,
Right.
just the mulch.
out.
Yeah,
Could you price it out with
Yeah.
whoever is doing the courtyard? Cause that's gonna
Yep,
be
I can do that.
concrete too.
Oh.
So kill two birds with one stone. and
So I can tell you that little sidewalk out there was $6,200.
Okay.
Out here on the other side of the parking lot. So that was,
But that was setting up a sidewalk, right?
it was, yeah.
Because this has already got your stuff, and it's basically it's just a fill.
Correct, and they're gonna, so I guess here are the other couple things to go look at too, is if trees die, we take them out, we got a hole.
well, but then we can put plants, like we can put something that's,
Yep.
Pots.
perennial.
Pots, you
pots,
absolutely
Something
could.
pretty, yeah.
Concrete's easy too.
How
We just
deep
got
are
blown
they?
off.
How deep are they?
Yeah,
It's 8 inches, probably 6 inches.
6 inches
That's
of
what I was
concrete?
thinking.
Is how deep is the sidewalk? 6 inches as well?
5, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
about 5, 5.5. So I mean, there's huge sections here.
Yeah, I know. That whole
Could be
front of the
nice.
parking lot area is pretty long.
It'd be really nice if you did a concrete, stamp of some sort,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think so. It's gonna last such a long time.
Do brick pavers too.
Right.
That'd be pretty,
Yeah,
And then the
Yeah,
pots solve
yeah,
the
like
plant
it.
problem.
right.
And they
If
do
you-
the
I just
pots
think
in
so.
high school, so that could actually be the horticultural part of it.
long
Would be
term.
good.
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
We
no,
have
yeah.
active elementary school garden, so
Oh, we have active, I shouldn't even say that out loud,
Oh,
Jackie.
yeah.
The queen.
I'm all for trying to save the trees, but if you have to come out, you could put something there.
Right.
Could you get back to us on
Yeah,
prices?
no, I didn't even really give concrete or pavers a thought, to be honest with you, so, yeah, we'll get a price on that.
The only thing I had to say about concrete stamp, is it cracks easier than,
Does it?
yeah. Just because of our winter shifting, plus they're plowing right there.
Yeah.
You can see this.
Well, they wouldn't be plowing on them.
No.
They're not
Sure,
plowing.
they just hit the curb anyways, so.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, do they really?
I'm sure it's hard to see in
It's
the
hard to
snow.
see.
We gotta put those,
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine,
Yeah.
I didn't give that a thought, to be honest with you.
Okay,
Well,
so
Small
we
things.
covered the diamond landscaping. Tell us about the bid for the hot water heater. I guess you already did. That's out to bid next week.
So the big hot water tank is leaking at the high school, so that's gonna go out. And the 2 hot water tanks at the middle school are also aged out. You can't get parts for them anymore. You're finding generic parts to fix them when they're leaking.
Is that in our capital for 2025?
Yeah, it was on the list of capital projects that needed
For
to be done.
fiscal year 25?
Mhm.
What's the lead time on something like that?
His words were sooner the better.
Yeah.
But for ordering the,
For ordering, how long do you, oh, okay. We
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
No, from what I'm being told is we will have it done for the first day of school.
Oh,
So it's looking at a month and a half for him to show up.
can be done this summer. Okay. I will sort of cover the next agenda item, which is HVAC bid. We talked about, so the capital improvements met last week, and we discussed it on Wednesday, last week's board ed meeting. And got 2 bids in. One is at 7.8 million, one's 7.3 million. And we are anticipating, according to CABE, the state is gonna announce on Monday, the HVAC grants. So we'll see if that helps us or not. And I think that's how we'll move. And I know Don is discussing what else we can do to make this project go forward and possibly less expensive. Does that?
So we're supposed to meet with the low bid this week, but it hasn't, all three haven't been able to set a date yet to talk to them. I know his engineer is looking, and I'm not really opposed to the mini splits. I'm not opposed to those. And I think that he's working on an option for fresh air to bring in the outside air, which in today's day and age, I'd like to think is doable, that we can make it work, because the way it works now is all the air exchange comes through the corridors from the main unit at the end. So I'm not sure we can't go back to that, so I think that's what we're working on. If that was doable, just the rough numbers that we talked about, what we have should work. But that's gonna be the sticking point, how we bring in fresh air.
They can bring in fresh air from one source, it doesn't have to come into each room?
So down the center of corridors, there's a main duct that goes down the center, and every room has a chute that goes in.
Okay.
So that's how it comes in and goes out, and it's a flow going through. One of the options would be to keep the units that we have, which are horrible, and just rebuild them on the inside and keep them. But they're gonna be the same noise level, they're gonna function the same, they're just gonna be newer, which to me is not doing, that's just going backwards almost. But that is an option to try to do. If it can be done, we're not 100% clear yet, but we are trying to find an option to make mini splits work. That's the biggest hang-up, is bringing in the fresh air and getting rid of the bad air. We're trying to figure out a way, can we put 1 unit on the roof or 2 units and solve that problem, but that's still in the engineer's hands.
When you say mini splits, I'm just not familiar. What exactly is it what do you mean by the mini splits? Like,
So it's like the one,
are we talking those ductless or
Yeah.
those? Okay. Just because, yeah, no, I was just curious because those have things where those can pull in fresh air on their own, right? Those.
there's a different quantity for school that's required in commercial buildings than your house.
Gotcha.
So it's a higher volume, so the way we can do it now is we can put 1 unit on the roof and put 2 heads down, 1 for 2 classrooms, 1 per classroom. Then we could go on with another unit on the roof and go 1 per classroom. In a perfect world, that would work, we just don't know.
Right. I was just talking with somebody who was on the board, and he works at Westbrook too, not on this board, but he works at Westbrook. They said they ended up having the same situation. They ended up going with those ductless heaters, and it saved them, saved them tremendous amounts of money. So by going to those, and he said it was amazing.
That's, I guess, that's the biggest hang up right now. If we, again, these are just numbers that we kind of threw out there and talked about. If we're able to do that, just the mini splits would be about 3.2, 3.3, but that's not the fresh air or the exhaust air. So that's where we got the hang up there.
And would these be heat and, right, these would be both, the heat and?
They would be
cold?
capable of doing both, but we'd still have the boiler.
I was just curious if that would at all help and save it all in the long term. And me thinking about it, I have no idea in my head, but just having
Maybe.
the options.
Possibly. There was another option too. We sat through this, and I this wasn't really fond of. It wasn't going to drop wise if we could go to the bottom of the line, because we're at like mid-level now, so we could totally drop to the smallest rooftop units, the smallest compressors, and everything available. But you would never cool rooms. Rooms would only be at a certain temperature. So on the hottest day, if I was hot and I wanted to turn to 70, I will never get to 70 because it has to balance the rest of the school. It would maintain like a 72. It's better than what they have now, but I'm not sure that that's a great idea either.
Middle school is what we're talking about?
Elementary.
Oh, we're
Elementary.
talking about elementary.
So there's a couple options. I don't know if they're great options, but there's options.
I feel like we had a conversation around this last spring or something, and I don't remember having the lower model conversation, but I do remember having the conversation around the mini splits, and I think it was Jim pushing it, and it was really pushed back against as far as what you're describing, the lack of the ability to do the work that needed to be done.
So I think they could do it. The problem with the lower grade is we'd be putting a smaller unit, RTU in. So it wouldn't be big enough to maintain 4 classrooms. I'll just say 4 classrooms. It wouldn't be able to maintain. If you want 65, I want 70, Patty wants it 70. It wouldn't be able to do that. It would just have to, it would be set for a level temperature, and that's what everybody would have.
Wasn't that what they have now? Is it, it's not really per classroom, is it?
They have their area units that they can play with a little bit, but
Turn up, you can turn, but that's when they work.
But that's
So-
just air conditioners, right?
Right.
There's no air.
no, there's no air. There's no outside
Yeah,
air
no.
coming out.
I mean, when you have central air, you set a temperature, you don't set per room. I mean, the mini splits are nice because you can set whatever temperature you want in each room, but it's not the worst thing to have
Well,
everybody
this
set.
would have been able
So-
to because we'd have BMS systems, right?
Correct, so with this system that's designed, each room could have a 3-degree offset.
Yeah,
So everybody, you could have 70 here, you could have 67.
right.
The unit would, the system would keep up with that. If
Yeah.
we dropped it, the system wouldn't be able to keep up to it, because it would lower, it would shrink the ductwork size to save money, and would shrink the size of the rooftop units. So they wouldn't be able to keep up with that 3 degrees. So on a 100-degree day, the best you're probably gonna get 72.
Yeah, no, and I hear that in
Yeah.
2 things. I think my comment, one, is that, you know, if you just have central air, everyone gets the same temperature. But then the opposite comment to that is like, which I didn't say yet, is like, why would we go with the bottom of the line if we're doing such a big project? Why would we do that? It doesn't make sense to me personally, just to save a little bit, because if you run into problems down the road, then you just went with the bottom of the line.
So, no, I agree. I don't think I don't think the bottom line is an option,
Yeah,
because it's just gonna create hassles down the road.
yeah,
The system that we have planned will give you the flexibility to set kind of your own temperature within a 3-degree offset.
Yeah.
So,
which is fine. It's not like someone needs their room at 60 and another person wants 90, like that's, we're not
Yeah.
gonna be fighting for that anyways, so.
but it is weird, 72 to 71 does make a difference.
It
It's
depends
weird.
where you
It
are in the
does.
building, yeah, I mean, each room is different, yeah.
But-
These discussions were happening because of the differential of the lowest bid compared to what we went out to referendum for. So that's why these discussions were happening, as opposed to not doing anything. What can we possibly do? So just processing through it.
So a thought too, that you're saying there are ducts right now in there just for fresh air that are, but like you said, it's bad.
That's it. There, I mean, the ducks are, well, I'm guaranteed are too small. And they've lived their life.
So what about if the mini splits are so more reasonable, could you do the mini splits in a new air system, just a fresh air system? You know what I'm saying? Like you have the ductwork, something like that.
So that's what they're looking into. We don't know. He's never done one. So this is a new thing, mini splits and stuff. We're working on. We're trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Which really nobody's had an answer in the last 2 weeks of how to make it work.
Because I know that's a big part of it we talked about at CIP was, and I understand that ductwork is a significant portion because of how much work, it's labor intensive and to do the whole school.
So the other one that I just say I'm not in favor of is doing it piecemeal.
Yeah, no, I'm not in favor of that either
Where
because I
it's
feel
gonna be
like,
a constant complaint and constant problem, so.
you'll have one hallway and then you go to the next hallway and then by the time you get to the third hallway, it'll be different materials or different
Yeah,
systems.
exactly.
It will
Stuff
never,
gets
it will
upgraded.
never. And I know that the Freon in 2025 is changing, so I don't know if that changes anything either, so.
So they actually got rid of the good Freon's been gone for a few years.
Yeah.
And they gave us, that's a number, I forget the number, that doesn't work as good.
Yeah,
And I guess they're gonna mess with that too, so.
that's what I'm saying, so I mean, okay.
How do these units work if a teacher opens their windows? Like, are they still opening their windows at the elementary school?
Yes.
And so if you've got a wing that's regulated with this new system and a teacher's feeling that their room isn't cool enough, they've got a window open, does that throw everything off just like it would have with a central air system or any other kind of these?
I would say yes.
Yeah. So we need a system that's going to be powerful enough that's going to support each room effectively. Because once a teacher opens a window, it's going to ruin and throw off the entire balance. And it's a guarantee that that will happen.
You can even see it here, if you go on the system here, if somebody has a window open, you can see, and yeah, it definitely, it does, it throws the whole system off.
So going back to the financial side of things, we don't have 7.3 million. So that's the bottom line. And we're not gonna, like, I don't know, even if we get the grant, and I'm very hopeful that we do, it's based on, there's a couple questions I would have to have for them. One would be, if we change the scope of what I put the grant in for, which was those specifications with those documents, I mean, they got every 3,000 piece of paper, whatever Scott gave me, I didn't look at, was set into the grant. So my question would be, if I change the scope, what does that do to my grant? If I have to come back and say, well, my 4.5 is now 7.3, does that change either getting a grant or can I get a higher grant because we have a higher percentage? I would not count on that second one happening. So there are financial complications, but the bottom line is, so let's say we got the grant and we have the 4.15, we get the grant for whatever it gets, we would have to go back out to referendum to the town to say, we are now doing a project that we thought was 4.15 and go to referendum for 6.3 or 7.1 or 7 point whatever. Even if I go to the, even if when we go to the referendum, we're gonna say, yes, we got, yes, it's gonna cost 7.3, but we have a guarantee of X number of dollars back from the state. Either way, it's still gonna be a process where we still are gonna have to go back to this, to the town, we're still gonna have to say, this project is not costing 4.15. it's gonna cost us X number of dollars, and we have to let the people know that. So I think it's important that we let people know that, upfront, that we don't wanna surprise them. So I think that's an important thing, and I know Teresa's been very, communicative with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance in regards to this whole process as to where we're at. Additionally, the chiller was part of this whole project, and the chiller was part of that 7.3. And so we are pulling the chiller out because the chiller, as you all know, is not gonna make it to, you know, it's hopefully we'll make it through next year because it's 52 week?
55.
55 week lag time before,
55
yeah,
weeks.
before we're gonna see it. So we are gonna go back out to the bid. Scott's pulling that portion of the bid out. So we will push that back out again. Hopefully that'll be a shorter bid, but we want to get the chiller, no matter what happens, we have enough money to do the chiller, and we really need to do the chiller. So that portion of things has to get moving forward. So we have to kind of split the two. When originally we had them, we'd hoped that we could do it together to save economies of scale and do it as one project. But we have to order the chiller right away. So that, on the flip side, the high school chiller is gonna have to get done one way or the other. And again, when I put in the grant, it was 2 grants. One was for the elementary school, one was for the high school. When we went to referendum, it was for the 2 combined, because we didn't know exactly what the prices were gonna be and all that kind of good stuff. So we could possibly just get the chiller grant, which is only gonna be a couple $100,000, but we could get that one. We could get both. But splitting it apart for us as far as a bid process is not a bad thing. But I am concerned, and it needs to be clear on the table, we don't have $7.3 million. And even if we get it down to $6 million, or we get it down to $5 million, anything over and above the $4.15 million that we requested at referendum, even if we have a grant to help support it, we'll have to go back out to referendum, or at least go back to town meeting or something. So the Board of Finance has to, so there are processes financially that we're gonna have to go through. So I just want you guys to keep that, I mean, we can talk mini splits and all the wonderful things that I don't understand. But financially on that side, that's what I'm looking at, and I just need you guys to be fully aware that the public has the right to know, and we need to let them know. And if we do a portion, you know, we went to the public saying we're doing the whole elementary school, so now we have to come back and say, maybe not. So there are things, I know Scott's working to try and find out why it went almost double in price in 4 months. I know we are not the only town. I'm gonna reach out to Granby's. There were 2 other towns that went out to bid, and it came out where their bids were double or triple what they estimated just in December. So I'm gonna reach out to them and see where they ended up with that and why they ended up with that as well, so.
And were we told at some point, somewhere along the lines, that it was labor that pushed it over and not
So
the
there is-
machinery
I mean,
itself?
you're not gonna have $3 million worth of labor, so you can say, yes, I'm sure labor is a portion of it, but you can't tell me there's $3 million worth of labor in there somehow. Scott, I forgot how Scott put it, but according to people that the labor, so labor, just to let you know, the labor cost per dollar is prevailing wage, so there's no change in dollar figures, so no matter who bid on it, everybody gets the same rate, whatever the state says the rate is. So it's not the rate
Well, there's new
that you're paying.
requirements. The wages have all been shifted.
Well, it's not the rate though, it's not the wages. It's that what used to maybe take a day is now taking 3 days.
Oh, right.
Because you have one guy who used to be able to necessarily do it in a day, and now you got 3 guys who necessarily don't want to do it in a day. So there is some economy of
Yeah.
scale on
So the work
talent.
ethic, the amount of time,
Quality of labor.
the quality of labor, and the efficiency, there's a noticeable difference.
I just
Right.
really feel we need to have a clean,
Yeah.
clear story to help the public understand how. we
Exactly,
run
and that's what
town
Scott's
governments.
working on, and I'm gonna work it with the other towns that also hit the same issue.
Yeah.
But there's not $3 million worth of labor, so there's gotta be something else in there that,
So I'm not
I found out,
I'm not 100%
About the
sure
grants.
we'll actually see the numbers, because they wanna keep their numbers to themselves in case it goes back out to bid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we'll see a breakdown of this chiller was $2 million or whatever. I don't think we'll see that, because they're gonna keep it
it
close to
just
their
seems
chest in case
standard
it
for
goes
a quote.
back out to bid.
I think that a lot of that really goes back to capital improvements, because they are usually the ones that, do they have the official charge yet?
So they've never lost the charge. The charge is still under their purview as far as
As
the,
HVAC
As
for
it-
all 3 schools.
yes, so the HVAC project is still, it's still right now under the study mode. We're not even
So
back, so.
Teresa, you need to work with Cindy to modify the charge of the, capital improvements.
That comes from the
That's
selectmen.
Right, let me finish. So you need to modify the charge, get that over to Irene. Irene brings it to the selectmen, and you want that charge to be whatever you want capital improvements to work on for the, HVAC.
Well, we did
Usually
meet with
they
her,
have
we
that.
did meet with her already to start that process.
Good.
I also am curious, what is the turnaround time for the state to respond to those questions?
I would love to tell you that answer, but considering they were gonna tell us the result of the grant in April, and we still don't know, I don't know how quickly it is. So the charge to the CIP, just for information, is indoor air quality and HVA systems at the East Haddam Elementary School, Nathan Hale Ray Middle School, and Nathan Hale Ray High School. So their charge is
Okay, their charge
completely
is-
over
Yeah.
all of this.
Okay.
So there's no need to change of the charge.
My suggestion then is to send this back to Capital, have them kind of work on it. And, because you also have Todd Moss on there too, who's, it is Moss, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was trying, I went blank on
Yep.
his last name.
So they're gonna
Who's
take
the
care of
expert?
putting whatever language.
So
we
they
need
are,
to-
they are already in charge of this.
Right.
This is just more informational for you guys. This is
Right.
not something where the board, unfortunately, the Board of Ed has a purview over. It's really under the charge of the CIP, but we do want to make sure everybody's 100%.
We do have a meeting again coming up, but I don't know if it's soon enough. So,
And a lot of these companies also knew that this was going out to
Right?
all the schools and they were going out for bids and stuff, and I have a feeling there was some price hiking going on here. Most definitely,
Talking a few
so
months.
there might be opportunities and the Capital can decide if they wanna go back out to bid or what they wanna do. That might be the way to go.
Well, we're waiting for those answers when we start to change the scope of what we originally were hoping for, what that does to the grant funding as well. And now that we've got this new low bid being so far higher than what we anticipated, we'll see what the state says about that. But Irene knows and Joe, so Board of Finance and First Selectmen are well aware.
So I'm not sure that sitting and talking will cut enough to make it affordable. I don't think, but.
it's okay.
We're trying to reason it down.
Yeah.
So it, it may end up having, we're definitely pulling the chiller out, so that's definitely going back out to bid. So if we do, as Scott says, value engineer or devalue engineer, again, that's his job, so.
Which,
You can.
Okay.
Speaking of more projects.
More projects.
Moving on my agenda, the architect
Yep.
project scope for the high school and elementary school. You have copies of that, or?
it's not done yet.
Oh, okay, there was a paper somewhere, but
No,
not sure.
it's-
Without cost attached to it, are you waiting for the one with the cost attached? Is
So
that?
that's a ways away. I talked to Al
Oh,
about that.
Al?
So,
Okay.
and let me find what he said to me when I asked him.
I'm a little
What's next?
leery with cost attachments after this HVAC bid.
we're kind of still, they've done their
Oh,
work.
seriously, I think we should bid some of this stuff too, not just get these cost estimates. If your cost estimates goes from 4 to 7 million, there's quite a large difference.
Okay, so this is Al's response. So for those who are not understanding, I mean, you probably don't want to give them a quick whatever they're doing, so before I tell them what Al's next step is.
So the original plan was to do a high school study. But once we walked through the high school, there wasn't a whole lot that actually needed to be done, other than facelifts. Flooring, bathrooms, ceilings, stuff like that, sealing the brick and stuff, so we kind of took a step back and threw the elementary school into it also.
And we
Because,
were well within budget.
yeah,
for the
well,
study.
into a budget, so, because they need the same thing, they need bathrooms, they need updating too. So, we met, and we're doing, Al was hired for the architect, we got landscape engineer involved for some drainage issues outside the high school. And their interior designers involved too, and, architectural for bathrooms. I think they just finished up last week with the interior walkthroughs of the high school and the elementary school. So I think we're just waiting for all the stuff to get put together now.
Yeah, according to Al, he said the estimating phase of this project will happen, so he said Megan, who's his interior person, was gonna do the walkthroughs of the individual schools and do, working on drawings and defining the existing conditions and locations, ceiling types, doors, floors, all that kind of good stuff. The estimating phase of this project will not happen until the very end. We still need to establish quantities, locations, proposed elements, furnitures, lockers, ceilings, new floors, painting, toilet room renovations, additionals, et cetera, et cetera. The next step is for the furniture fixtures, F&E. It's gonna come to me, fixtures, furnitures, and equipment consultant, to meet with the staff, to review and look over, the things that they were expecting. So the actual money does not come to the end.
So we had allocated funds for this,
Study.
The study,
Study only, yeah?
just the study, not the actual project.
which
Al is
we're
doing.
staying within
Oh, yeah.
the funds, and he
We're still good.
knows
Yep.
how much that is. And it really is just some facelift stuff
There's really,
at the high school.
I think the biggest thing in both schools are the bathrooms. Bathrooms are the ones that are most likely gonna get gutted and redone. They're the worst,
Okay.
The high school probably get new bleachers, I mean, new auditorium seating, stuff like that. But,
It's not structural.
no, the main,
Oh, there were, addition,
oh, we talked about addition, yes.
we did talk about it, two areas out.
Yep.
Expand the cafeteria and the music.
Music room, yes. What was that?
There really, it's
Yeah.
subpar, that music classroom.
At the elementary.
No,
At
at the high school.
Yeah, at the high
It's
school,
awful.
certainly.
I
yeah.
can print these two
It is a
project
closet.
scopes. Do you want me to print those for?
Sure.
Okay. Let me print the project scopes again. There's no money on these. And I believe that Megan and Chris went back and added a couple.
Budgeted 75 and
more
it came in
things.
at like 38.
Oh, after that was
Yeah,
submitted?
it was, I think, 175, came in at 100.
Yeah,
Then we probably don't wanna print
No.
out if it's not, then we're gonna be like, why do we have this list, now we got another list.
Okay, that's fine. I think they added something to this.
There's so many in there, yeah.
Yeah, it came in under budget to do the
Yeah.
study, because we originally were
I
doing the
couldn't
high
remember
school
the
study,
numbers.
and we did the
That's for
elementary
your capital,
combined
correct?
capital from last fiscal year 24.
Yeah.
This year.
Mhm.
It's a lot
Maybe
cheaper.
that could be put towards something that we have on the docket for 25.
HVAC.
Or async, I mean, the prices.
If this does if the project goes to the next level, the normal transition is to take the study money and put it towards the project, so
Right.
it's just gonna sit there.
Okay, moving on to finance. Did anyone get to review? I know it was sent out today, your March and April year-to-date, and I will let
I'm
you
sorry, I
ask.
thought you guys got these a couple days ago. I apologize.
I think we got today.
No,
Yep.
it came today.
Sorry. So just real
That's
quick,
okay.
if you want me to, skip over March because we're
Yeah,
already in
go
April.
right to April.
Right to April, but you can see, that we hit to April, if I get all the way through to April here. And I apologize, but that way you don't have to look through both of them, but that gives you the most up to date. As always, the warrants and the backup for the warrants are up front. The areas, the biggest thing is the first page 1 and 2 of the district-wide totals. That kind of gives you your overview of where we are as of to date. Our remaining under budget of $324,090 is where we're left after our encumbered funds. That puts us at about a 1.4% of our budget is remaining as of April 30th. I did run a quick one on May 14th, yeah, I guess that was yesterday. We're down to about $240,000, so we are slowing people down a little bit. We've got graduation, which is always a big expense. but some of that is in our encumbered already, so, I'm just trying to keep things tight as far as we know what is unexpected. We asked each one of the schools to do a list of what they expect coming up for the end of the year so that we can see whether or not it's encumbered or whether that's gonna tap into that over/under. This is not completely unusual for this time of year. We do get it down close. But it, I do get a little nervous. Never been over budget, never want to be, so there you go. We are working on what we call open purchase orders. So basically what that means is at the beginning of the year, Don will say, we're gonna spend $8,000 in oil for Dime, which would be great if that's all we did. And then we get to this point and we've only spent $6,000 and he doesn't think that we're gonna use another $2,000, so he'll tell us to close out that purchase order with only $500, which means that will move $1,500 or $500 from my open purchase order into my available funds. So we're working on that process right now. We have not completely froze everybody to a full halt. I just wanted to get a general idea of where we're at. So I don't want you to be nervous about this. You'll see that I have $4 million sitting in encumbrances. Those are those purchase orders. That's also mostly salary encumbered, so we will use a lot of that. But that just kind of gives you a general idea of where we're at. There are some bills that we expect coming in that'll probably, push us up and over a little bit in some of the areas. I'm hoping that we're pretty much settled in on our tuition at this point. Transportation will come in pretty much where we need to be without too much surprise. Other than that, liability insurance, you'll see that there's a negative 19,503. Normally we get a like a bonus check from Kerma if they have a really good year. We have not received that yet, but and that could be anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 depending on how good a year they had. But we haven't gotten it yet, so I'm hoping that negative 1903 turns into only a negative like that. So, but we have had some breaking things that we've had to go to Kerma and ask them to help us pay for them. And not just people, we're talking things like,
So in
not
addition
human
to
being breaking.
injuries, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those, but most of it has been like, accidents or weather-related issues that we had at the elementary school, things like that. So that's why our prices are a little higher. Other than that, we're really not over budget in any other departments completely by a whole lot. I do expect a few bills coming in that might be a little bit of a surprise, but for the most part, we're close. I'm really hoping when I get you the May one, which I will have before the June board meeting, so I don't know whether we're having a business and planning prior to that, which I know is crazy because it's a crazy time of year. But maybe I can try and get that out to you guys so that you have a general idea of where we're gonna be at the end of the year. Because we do get to the point where if we're at a point, and we'll have a general idea of what funds we might have available to offset. Like this is usually the time where you guys decide whether or not you want to prepay $25,000 toward legal, like we do every other year, so stuff like that. So those are conversations that would happen in June and July.
Have you found anything out about I always get the acronyms messed up, ECS, the grant, any percentage difference this year?
So this year we've already gotten our ECS, and I can't remember what it was. It was pretty much what we estimated it to be. It was around 200 and something thousand, or 300, just under $300,000, which is what we predicted it to be.
Even with the additional
That's excess cost. I'm sorry, that's excess cost.
excess cost.
ECS goes to the town, and the last deposit I saw that went to the town was $1.78 million. So that was half of what they normally, or like that's the second half. So I don't know their total figure of what they ended up with, but I can find that out for you.
Okay. That's close.
So.
With good faith in you, Cindy.
Will not go over budget. I
We
absolutely
already told them, we might be saying no to some
100%
requests.
guaranteed will not go over budget. Do not want to sit in front of the Board of Finance.
Taya, do you have any questions for Cindy?
I don't think so.
Laurel?
I don't know.
Oh, and the last page should be the legal spreadsheet. I hope that got in there. It did. Okay, so the very last page is your legal breakdown.
Fun.
No, nope.
Patty, because you're here.
Yeah, very thorough, thank you.
Yeah.
Problem.
All right.
I think a conversation should be had at the end of the year in regard to,
I know, I'm looking at our,
it doesn't have to be done.
we might have to meet after the end of school.
So we'll
Okay.
have,
It has to be covered.
so, I mean, May will be a May number, but June is an expensive month. So, I mean, really, the conversation usually ends in July, but I know you guys don't meet in July, but
And
that's-
June
that is-
30th is a Sunday this year.
I will be in Switzerland, so have a wonderful time.
So may need us before then.
I'll be at the Legion.
Okay.
No spending money while I'm gone.
Who is gonna talk about the big timeline for the copy machines?
I will cover that one as well. So our copiers come up to the end of their 5-year life, actually next month, June 16th. So we are on a month-to-month starting June, which is not very, it's not very expensive. We actually have a really good contract this year with, or the last 5 years. But we are gonna go back out to bid with the town. So it's a little bit more extensive than, I thought maybe I could just copy the last one and keep moving, but that didn't work out. So I'm working with Matt and Linda to make sure that I have all the town machines on the list as well, and that will hopefully lower our overall bid because it'll be a bigger project for somebody out there, so. So we're hoping to go out to bid. I was hoping to go out to bid this week, but it looks like it'll probably be next week. Have a bid closing, say probably June 15th, at the latest, June 20th, and then have the machines flipped out and turned over before August 15th. At least at the schools. The municipal office complex, the flip over is not as big of a deal because they don't have 100 teachers walking in the door on August 28th, looking at a copier, wondering how to hit the button. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to get the secretaries all up to date and the principals up to date on training of whatever new copiers we will have before the beginning of the new school year. So, and even if we go with the same company, we'll still get new copiers. So it is a end of life for the copiers.
And that's in the budget, right? The
Yes.
copiers?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all I care about.
Yep, no, it's, we plan on copiers every year, no matter what. No matter what they say about technology, we still go through a lot of paper. So, they still copy a lot.
And last but not least, fiscal year 2025, and I'm elated to say that our budget passed last night, so we don't have any fiascos like last year. I don't know, we did have a $240,000 cut
Yes.
from the
Yes.
Board of Finance.
Yes.
From what we presented, so we have a $240,000 cut from the Board of Finance, so I don't think we're gonna figure that out tonight because
We're trying to work through that with the change in medical insurance. That's where we're trying to absorb that. It's apparently not enough,
It's the lion's share, though.
so.
I'm gonna go with it. It's gonna be the lion's share of the 240,000.
See where we are.
Yeah, see where we are, we do, how it all spans out, even though there's one bucket, but, we're gonna be hiring some people. How do those salaries compare to current folks who are retiring? I mean, I think there could be a little bit here, a little bit there to make it up so that we're not having to come out to cut anything additional. That's what
That's our hope.
I am trying to make sure happens. Hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of confidence that we're not looking for a $240,000 cut. We're only looking now for maybe 20,000, something like that.
I'm hoping we'll have so with the insurance, we have open enrollment for insurance. We do that every year, so it's not new. But with the change of our insurance carrier, we are gonna do an open enrollment. So I'm estimating with the rates that we received and the plan that we've got, I was trying to estimate numbers of people, but that of course is a best guess of who's coming on, who's leaving, what level they're at, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm hoping by June 15th, I will have much better plan. Like I said, I'm really hoping that the lion's share of our $240,000 will come out of the insurance line. So the other thing that I did find out today, and I will get confirmation of this, is I think our dental rates will stay flat. And I believe I budgeted 5%, which is only $8,000, but still, that's $8,000. So I'm hoping I'll get confirmation of that probably Monday or Tuesday. So if that stays flat, that's like another $8,000 that we don't have to take from anywhere else within the budget. So if I can save the 240 out of our fiscal services, then we'll be in good shape, so.
Would you be able to communicate that to business and planning by June 30th?
Oh, no,
Yes.
I'll know that,
Yes.
yes. Oh, yeah,
By
absolutely.
mid-June, we'll
Right.
have
Oh,
a
yeah,
better.
absolutely.
Yeah, by mid to late June.
Yeah, no, I'm
so
hoping
we
we'll
don't
have a
know
much
where you're
better,
Starting out on July 1st.
We'll probably have to meet after graduation, if that's okay
Okay.
with everybody.
Probably a wrap-up
Okay.
meeting would be wise.
Before June 30th.
Just a lot of projects coming up too, and a lot of stuff.
anytime
Thank you.
before the 21st.
Oh, before the 20, okay.
Not on 21st.
No, that's right. First time I've ever taken 2 weeks off in my entire life, so no spending money while I'm gone.
Okay, so before, the first day of summer.
No spending money while I'm gone. That would be Dawn.
That's hilarious.
I
That's
can't-
gonna be coming running in. What do you think? Anyone notice that Don has contacts? Did anybody notice anything different about
I'm
Don?
wearing glasses
noticed
and that
that.
you don't
Right?
have tan marks
I
on
was
your
gonna
sunglasses.
say.
I used to have the tan marks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other business and planning questions?
No.
It was an hour and 1 minute, Patty, so. We'll
Excellent.
adjourn at 7:04 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.